Hello everyone. Welcome to Chehel's Zoology Lectures. I'm Dr. Jyoti Chehel. We'll talk about chordates, and in today's lecture we'll talk about conservation measures and economic importance of chordates. So, first we'll talk about conservation of chordates. Conservation is a practice to protect wild plants and animal species in their habitat. Now, what is the need to conserve? Why to conserve chordates? Because chordates are important component in maintaining ecological balance. The damage caused by extinction can't be reversed, so every species on earth has its own value. It is either acting as a prey or predator for some other organism, and it is very much important for a trophic level. So every species has its own value. So it is must to protect everything, every species, to protect biodiversity of biosphere. Now, what are the various conservation strategies? Conservation can be done by following two measures: in situ conservation and ex situ conservation. In situ conservation is preferred over ex situ conservation. What do you mean by in situ conservation? In natural surroundings. That means to conserve the organisms, to conserve the chordates in their original natural surroundings or in their own habitat. And that is very much preferred. It involves establishment of protected areas. Now there are different types of protected areas which falls under different categories, category 1 to 6, and it includes number 1, biosphere reserves. Now what are biosphere reserves? These are largest kind of protected areas, and they have whole ecosystem. That means plant community, animal community, microbial community, and their abiotic factors or environment. So, biosphere reserve, it involves the whole ecosystem, and it consists of three zones: core, buffer, and manipulation. We'll study about this in further slides. Then, second is national parks. These are also large land areas but with no human activity, and these are maintained by government only, and these fall under type 2 category of protected areas. That means type 2 category means that these habitats or these areas are natural or nearly natural. That means no involvement of human being. Then is wildlife sanctuaries. These are also of similar size as that of national parks, but limited human activity is allowed in wildlife sanctuaries, and they fall under fourth category of protected areas. Then next is sacred groves. What are sacred groves? These are forest fragments of varying size. That means inside the forest there are some specific fragments which are of religious importance, and that's why these are protected religiously because of their religious value. So that are termed as sacred groves. That can include a group of banyan tree because of religious importance. Then last is community reserves. These are connecting areas, or you can say these are the corridors or pathways between national parks, sanctuaries, and reserved or protected forest. Okay, so that is all about in situ conservation. Then we'll talk about ex situ conservation. That means outside their natural habitat. Ex situ means outside their natural habitat. And the main purpose of ex situ conservation is to rescue and preserve the threatened species. And ex situ conservation includes zoological parks, zoo. Everyone is aware of that animals are kept there in captivity, and field gene banks. These are also termed as plant gene banks, and these are specially designed for those plant species that do not produce seeds readily or very much easily. So these are for their captive breeding. Livestock parks. And livestock parks are for animal husbandry and dairying. And recently 900 acres in of 900 acres of land has been donated to a livestock park in Salem region, Tamil Nadu. And the next is gamete storage. It is for storage of sperm or egg. You can say sperm banking or egg banking for future use. The next is DNA storage, and to store DNA in any form like hair samples or blood samples. And this is a very common practice in terms of certain uh, forensic utilities, like uh, during an unresolved case of murder or something, the or unidentified body. So the DNA sample of that bodies are collected and that has to be stored for future reference. Then next is captive breeding, or you can say propagation, like cheetah in Africa, and that is breeding in controlled environment to prevent that species from extinction. Then is slow growth storage, in which slow growth storage means when the growth of plant species is slowed down that much that the time between culturing and rejuvenation is very much large, and that is specifically done for elimination of pests and diseases. And the last is tissue culture and genetic engineering. So these are the method for ex situ conservation. Now we'll talk about biosphere reserves. There are 18 biosphere reserves in India, and out of these 18, 11 are a part of World Network of Biosphere Reserve based on UNESCO Men and Biosphere Program list, which was initiated in 1971. Now, Biosphere Reserve, it has three areas: core area, which is shown here in this dark green color, central area; buffer area, this light green area, this is buffer area, and this outermost zone is termed as transition zone. Okay, so in core area, only research activity is allowed, and in buffer area, research activity as well as tourism is allowed, and some education and training programs. And in transition area, tourism and recreation is also allowed along with human settlement. So these houses are human settlement. Nowadays, some settlement has also been allowed in buffer area, but priorly it was denied. Okay. So, a biosphere reserve is a ecosystem with plants and animals of unusual scientific and natural interest, and it is a label given by UNESCO to help protect the sites. And biosphere reserves are meant for learning places for sustainable development. Each site promotes solution reconciling the conservation of biodiversity with its sustainable use. That means how we can sustainably conserve biodiversity of our own biosphere. So this was all about biosphere reserve. The next is national parks. There are 101 existing national parks in India according to December 2019 data, and this is 1.23% of the total geographical area of our country. National park is an area which is strictly reserved for the betterment of wildlife and biodiversity. And in national park, activities like development, forestry, poaching, hunting, and grazing are not permitted. That means any human activity is denied. Then wildlife sanctuaries. There are 553 existing wildlife sanctuaries in India according to December 2019 data of National Wildlife Database, which is 3.64% of the geographical area of our country. A wildlife sanctuary is an area where animal habitats and their surroundings are protected from any sort of disturbance. The capturing, killing, and poaching of animal is strictly prohibited in these areas, but grazing is allowed. A little bit of human activity is permitted in wildlife sanctuary. Now, what is the difference between wildlife sanctuary, biosphere reserve, and national park? Wildlife sanctuary, it has very much less restrictions. Lots of human activities are allowed in wildlife sanctuary. In biosphere reserve, there is moderate restrictions, and in national park there are heavy restrictions and any kind of human activity is not allowed. Wildlife sanctuary is fourth category of protected area. Biosphere reserve is a program launched by UNESCO, and the name of program is MAB, that is Man and Biosphere, which was launched in 1971. And national park falls under the category second of protected area. In wildlife sanctuary, animals, insects, and birds are preserved, and in biosphere reserve, it protects the biodiversity of a designated area. And in national park, flora, fauna, landscape, historical objects are also being protected. Now, some more difference between national park and sanctuary. Cattle grazing is completely prohibited in national park, whereas grazing is permitted in sanctuary, and the permission may be given by chief wildlife warden. Downgrading of national park into sanctuary is not permitted. However, a sanctuary may be promoted to national park. Human habitation is not permitted in national park. No human can reside in national park, but in sanctuary it is permitted. Next topic is economic importance of chordates. Now it's a very bad thing that we human always focus on economic importance of everything. I think there should have been ecological importance of chordates. Why we are always interested in our own benefit? Economic benefit, money matters always, and that is really something I really don't like it. But still, okay, that is in the syllabus, so we have to discuss this. But that is a really bad thing. Okay, Eurochordates, they have evolutionary value, and these are used for dissection in lab studies. Cephalochordates, they have phylogenetic value and also used for food, and also used for food, fresh or dried, because these are muscular organism and can be utilized at food. So this picture is showing a cephalochordate, that is Branchiostoma. The next is cyclostomata, that is round mouth organism. These are also used as food in some parts of Europe, and larvae of cyclostomata are used as fishing bait to catch fish, to lure fish, and mostly these cyclostomata, they negatively affect human beings by destroying fisheries. So there is a great example of US fisheries, Great Lakes fisheries of USA, which was that was infected by petromyzon infection, lampreys, in 1920. They entered the Great Lakes of United States of America and got firmly established there, and that has ruined the fishery, commercial fishery of USA. A big research program was launched to kill the lampreys, and in 1960, the use of a poison, because of that research program, a poison was launched, and because of the use of that poison, the larvae of petromyzon were killed, and that has resulted in the recovery of fisheries. That means it has took 40 years to recover those fisheries. Now, in these pictures, you can see that these are Urochordates, ascidians. These are highly colorful organism. And here, a fish is infested by petromyzon, and 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 this is a close view of petromyzon mouth. You can see the sucker. So this is petromyzon, and this is sucker which it used to hold the prey tightly. Next is chondrichthyes, that means cartilage fishes. Now these fishes are used for food like sharks and rays. These are eaten in various parts of the world, and fins are used for making soup. So here is a shark, you can see, and this is a ray. So both of these are used as food. Oil is also obtained from the liver of shark. This is shark. From its liver, oil is obtained, And the crude oil is used as paint and insecticides, and refined oil is used as vitamin A and D. The capsules which you engulf are made up of liver oil of shark. The next is shagreen. Shagreen is a decorative item which is obtained from shark skin. Here you can see this is shagreen. Now that is a case which is decorated by shagreen. Now this case is covered by shagreen, that is shark skin. Okay, then leather. Shark skin with scales produces leather which is used for shoes and purses. So here you can see this is leather, three different colors of leather, gray, red, and this is a little maroonish. And this is bag which is made up of shark skin. Here you can see that these are shark skins which are being dried in sun. So these will be further used for making bags and shoes. How pathetic is that? We human do not deserve this planet. Okay. Further, pituitary extract of a shark is used for medical purpose, medicinal use, and shark is also used for study, for scientific study in zoology labs for dissections. Sharks are also harmful because it attacks boats and humans, and rays with sting. They can also kill human being, and these are nuisance to divers and fishermen. You must remember Steve, which is who is termed as a crocodile man, that died because of a stingray sting. Now, next are osteichthyes. Economic importance of osteichthyes. Osteichthyes are bony fishes. These are also used for food. About 13% of protein comes from marine fish food. So two kind of fish are there: marine fish and freshwater fish. So marine fish, it can be cod, herring, mackerel, and salmon. Okay, so you can see here, this is salmon, and these are mackerel. These are food fishes. And if you talk about freshwater fishes, then this is trout. This one. This is trout. This is catfish. This one, Belagonia attu, and this is carp. Okay. Oils are also obtained from bony fishes. So fish oil and vitamins, again vitamin A and D, are obtained from fishes. And fish meal, scraps of fishes dried and then used as poultry feed and fertilizer. So remains of fishes from the fish market, they are being used for making poultry feed. That means food of poultry farms, food for poultry farms, and fertilizer to be used in fields. Liquid glue, from head and trimmings of certain fishes, liquid glue is obtained, which is used in gluing of wood, papers, cardboards, and leather. You can see this is a fish, sturgeon, you can see. And from this fish, from the membrane of swim bladder or air bladder, membrane of air bladder or swim bladder is used to make this liquid glue. So this is the liquid glue. Next, bony fishes are also used in malaria and yellow fever control, like top minnow or Gambusia affinis. So these fishes are minnows. These are fishes of very small sized genus. So all the fishes in this genus are very small in size, and these are important for biological control of malaria parasite, because it will eat up all the larvae of mosquito that is responsible for spreading the malaria and yellow fever. So this is Gambusia affinis. Also, fishes are used in recreation. That means entertainment purpose and for beautification or decoration. So these are for entertainment. These are hunted for sport. Perch and trout. Trout we have seen in last slide, and perch is climbing perch, anabas. And goldfish in aquarium for decoration purpose. So this is goldfish, and these all are aquarium fishes. You can see how beautiful these are, how colorful these are. So these are for decoration purposes, for recreation purposes. Okay. So further, these are also used as study in zoological labs for dissection. Some fishes are harmful, like piranha. It is dangerous fish. You can see here, piranha bite can be really painful. This is a piranha. See its teeth, and here is a bite which is done by piranha. There is also a Hollywood movie on piranha fish. You can see that how dangerous these fishes are, and they can be fairly large. And the next is porcupine fish, which is also poisonous. So this is porcupine fish that is Diodon. It will cause death in 17 minutes. If somebody will eat this fish, he or she may die in 17 minutes. Then next we'll talk about economic importance of amphibians. These are also important food item. These are eaten as a food in US, Japan, and also in India. They are eaten fresh as well as dried, and also in the form of pickle and soup. Amphibian comprises frogs, toads, and salamanders. They destroy harmful insects, so these are very much beneficial for biological control of insect pest. So, because most of amphibians they feed upon insects. Again, useful in study for dissections in lab, used as fish bait, have medicinal value because skin secretion of some amphibians, it secretes some substance, chemical substance, which can increase blood pressure. So these are used for treatment of low BP in human being. Also useful in making pregnancy test kit because uh, human chorionic gonadotropin, that is a hormone which is excreted in urine of a pregnant woman. If that is poured on a frog skin, frog will lay egg within 10 hours. If that urine of pregnant women, if that urine is of pregnant women, that means urine is having HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, then definitely frog will lay egg within next 10 hours. So that is a confirmation uh, method for checking pregnancy. Then recreation, jumping frog contest in US. Okay, US people they keep frog as their pet, and there is a competition, jumping frog competition, where all the people will come with their own pet frog, and they will uh, make a race for jumping frog contest in US. So, frog skin is also used as glue and book binding. Also, you can see here in this picture that is axolotl larva, that is larva of salamander, and that is very much important in studying regeneration. So that is a model organism for studying regeneration and very much famous for that. Next are reptiles. Again, these are used for food, specifically green turtles, iguanas, and rattlesnakes. You can see here, this is green turtle, iguana, this is iguana, and this is rattlesnake that is having a rattle on its tail. You can see rattle. What is rattle? Rattle is small children, they have a toy which is termed as rattle, which can make noise. In Hindi you can call that junjuna. So that is a rattle, and that rattle in rattlesnake is used to alarm other organisms which is nearby it, that the snake is here, stay away. Okay, reptiles also destroy harmful animals, so it is important for biological control of insects and rodents, because most of the reptiles, lizards, they eat insects as their food, and rodents are being taken by snakes, rats, and mice and shoes. So these are also important material for studying zoology in labs for dissections. And fancy, they also provide fancy leather from skin of crocodile, snake, and lizard, which are used for making shoes and purses. Tortoise shells for making combs and ornament. They also have medicinal value, like poison of cobra is used for making painkiller, specifically used in cancer patients. And also Anti-venom drugs are made from poison of snakes. Euromastix. Euromastix is a spiny-tailed lizard. You can see here this last picture. This is Euromastix. It yields oil to cure impotency. Okay, oil is obtained from this, which is utilized to cure impotency in men. Then recreational purposes. Again, young turtles are used in aquariums and snake charmers. They also use snakes for entertainment purpose. Reptiles are also harmful because snake bite can cause deaths and snakes can attack poultry at night. So that can cause harm to human economy. Now next class is aves. Again, these are used for food. Duck, geese, quails, pigeons, fowls, and eggs of these all birds are used as food. They destroy harmful insects and rodents and act as scavengers. Like house sparrow that eat 250 insects per day. Manna that feed upon grasshoppers. White stalk and rosy pester. They tear the grasshopper into pieces. Now you can see this pic. This is rosy pester and this is white stalk. Okay. Hawk, eagles, they eat rat. Aves are also important for study as these are useful for dissections in lab for studying zoology and physiology. Then these are also used for decoration purposes. Feathers of birds are used for decoration, especially of peacock. These are also stuffed in pillows, making pillows. Feathers are used for making pillows. Birds are also pollinators and dispersers of foods and seeds. And guano is excretory material of gannet, cormorant, and pelicans that act as fertilizer. Now, this bird is gannet, this is cormorant, this black one, and this is pelican. This lower one is pelican, this one. So their excreta is termed as guano, and that is useful as fertilizer. Birds are also used as recreation purpose. That means most of people keep them as pets. Now, last is mammals. Again, these are used for food: goat, sheep, pigs, rabbit, hare, deer, etc. for meat. And there are certain organisms, certain mammals which provide milk like cows, buffaloes, goats. They also provide manure. Their digestive waste is utilized as manure or you can say fertilizer. They also destroy harmful animals, so are important agent for biological control of insects, snakes, and rodents. They are also useful in studying physiology, space travel, and genetics. Leather, skin of cattle for shoes and purses. Skin of cattle are utilized for shoes and purses. So leather is obtained from mammalian skin. Fur and wool. Fox provide fur. Otters, see here, this is otter and otter baby. These are swimming on water, actually floating on water, and these are very cute. But these are not so much social. Whenever you uh, came across any otter, please stay away at least 50 feet. Okay, so these are dangerous creatures and they can bite you. They look cute, but their activities are not cute. Okay, so these are otters, and you can say these are in Hindi you can call them udbila. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, then minks. That is a small carnivore, mink. So that also provide fur. This is mink. And seals, which are present in ocean, they also provide fur. And alpaca. So this is alpaca. These two tiny creatures, cute. These are alpaca. They also provide fur and wool. So these provide wool, sheep and camel, along with sheep and camel. And hair of some mammals are used for making brushes like pig and bear. Musk. Okay. Musk is obtained from musk deer. You can see here, this is a musk deer and that is musk which is shown here in bottle. Okay. See. This is musk deer. You can in Indian granthas, this organism is referred as Kasturi Mrig. So that is Kasturi Mrig, that means musk deer, and that is musk oil, which is very much useful. Musk oil is very much useful. That is having lots of medicinal properties, and very much medicinal properties, and treating many skin diseases and used in many cosmetics. So that is this is one animal product which is very costly, costliest, you can say. Ivory, which is obtained from elephant tusk. Oil and fat from whale blubber. And glue and gelatin from bones of cattle. Ambergris is a perfume base which is obtained from intestine of sperm whale. See, this is sperm whale. Okay. It belongs to species Macrocephalus. Macro means very large, cephalus means head. You can see its head is very much large. So species is Macrocephalus. Okay, so ambergris is a perfume base which is obtained from intestine of sperm whale. Mammals are also used for recreation purposes, like these are kept as pets for gaming purpose, for zoo. These are also harmful, some organisms, some mammals, as they spread diseases, and carnivore can destroy useful animals. So this was all about economic importance. Thank you.